Well, of course, the issue is very controversial, but you're seeing tremendous leadership and some new leadership from many of the cities in the United States. A classic example is Mayor Bloomberg of New York City, known as an independent, a businessman who's kind of a no-nonsense manager, and he thinks immigration is the best thing since apple pie. He thinks that immigration is what makes America great. It's what makes New York hum. New York thrives on immigrant entrepreneurs, immigrant communities who work hard from all over the world. And so he's become a real champion and has stepped up in a way that's really been unexpected. You have other local leaders who have followed suit. We've seen many police chiefs in major cities become allies of immigration reform. Police Chief Babcock in Salt Lake City, one of the most conservative states in the country, has become an articulate and aggressive spokesperson for immigration reform because they're under pressure to enforce federal immigration laws in a way that's making cops have to ask for papers from immigrants, whether they're legal or not, and that's undermining the crime-fighting strategies that they've found most effective, the community policing strategy that relies on building trust with communities so that they'll serve as witnesses and call the police when they see problems. So we've had some really unusual leaders, and many police chiefs, not only in New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and Miami, but also in places like Charleston, South Carolina, and Austin, Texas, and Salt Lake, that have become real champions. So that's been really unusual and unexpected. And many cities are the places where most immigrants reside in the United States. So you have a very strong network of community organizations and coalitions that is built up. And so it's really different. I mean, there's new immigrants moving to states that aren't used to receiving them in North Carolina and in Tennessee and in Idaho and in Oklahoma, and they're having very contentious debates. But in areas like Chicago and New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco and Houston, what you're seeing is maturing immigrant communities, very sophisticated networks of organizations working closely with local officials to make life better for immigrants. I think of a guy named John DeStefano, who's been active in the cities on migration, mayor of New Haven. He just announced an initiative with Yale University, prominent university located in New Haven. There's always been a lot of town and gown tension, but they came together and have come up with the New Haven Promise. Any kid in New Haven who graduates from high school is going to be able to go to college, and it includes undocumented kids. So while the discourse in the United States is kind of virulently anti-immigrant, what you're seeing in places like New Haven and Salt Lake and New York and Chicago and LA are policies that are benefiting immigrants, and we hope that is going to be the real leadership that's going to lead to a national transformation that's long overdue.
It's fascinating. So there really is a role for cities. Cities are starting to change the debate.
Yeah, cities are changing the debate. I'm fascinated with Utah just because it's such a conservative state. It's a state where the Mormon church is very strong. Because of the leadership out of Salt Lake City, the state of Utah, which was considering copying the odious anti-immigrant law that Arizona passed last year, conservative members in the state are pushing that. But the leadership from Salt Lake, right and left, came together, business community, progressive groups, etc., and said, no, let's try something different. They passed legislation in Utah that actually intends to give work permits to undocumented immigrants in the state. Now, this has never been happened. It's probably not constitutional under the U.S. law because the federal government is supreme in matters of immigration, but it's a real game changer. It's changed the discourse in the United States that a very deeply conservative state is saying, no, these undocumented immigrants who live here and work here are vital to our economy, and we want them included rather than excluded. A very different message than the one that came out of Arizona last year.